There are a lot of narratives. There's a lot of talk around the WNBA. It's great that people are talking about it. I think the big thing is to talk about the WNBA. It's okay to be new. It's okay to say that you're new and that you might not understand everything. Ask us. Like, we're here. There's 144 of us, not just one of us. We're here. We're willing to share our stories. We're willing to tell you kind of how it was when we came in.
What's going on? It's Keyshawn and welcome to my show, All Facts and No Breaks. Joining me on today's show is WNBA superstar, the LA Sparks, Kia Nurse. Hey Kia, how you doing? How's it going?
I'm good. Thanks for having me on. I'm excited to be here.
Are you back in LA or are you still on the road somewhere?
We are still on the road. We are right in the middle of our 8 games, 19 days, 7 cities. So we're in Connecticut, full on East Coast now.
So you come from a richness of athletes in your family, huh? Your dad played football, I guess your mom played basketball, your brother played football and basketball. Am I missing anybody?
No, honestly, we do have a lot in our family. My sister also played basketball. She played for the University of Oregon and the University of Bowling Green. My brother's on the Edmonton Oilers. My cousin Sarah Nurse plays for PWHL Toronto, and my uncle is Donovan McNabb, who was a longtime quarterback in the NFL. So we've got a lot going on around here, but it's fun.
Oh, is that right? I didn't know Donovan McNabb was your uncle. How did that happen?
Yeah, he's married into the family. He married my dad's sister. They both went to Syracuse and we're college sweethearts from there. So we grew up having Uncle Don around all the time, going to Eagles games, and that was kind of one of the really exciting moments for us growing up, being able to see him in his prime and shining on that bright stage.
So you are from Canada. That's your home country, and you are in the WNBA. And since Canada did not have a team at the point in time, but they're going to be getting one here in the near future, what are you trying to get back home to play? Or are you just satisfied right here in LA?
Like, I'm focused on where I am right now. I'm very grateful for the opportunity to be here in LA. I'm excited for the prospect and the opportunity that WNBA Toronto will have, not only for, the ability to finally have some women's professional sport in Canada. That's something that we've been really working towards over a number of different years here, and it's starting to flourish. And now having the opportunity for these young athletes and these young women in particular to actually have role models visibly there that they can see. For me growing up, my sister was my role model. I wanted to be like her because she was playing, but I never really saw women's basketball on television. It took a long time. I had to go to the States to kind of finally see, Maya Moore and UConn playing. And for us kids in Canada growing up, the generation you see now in the WNBA and the NBA, we're kind of the Vince Carter kids. He made it kind of cool in Canada to play and see basketball in a hockey country in a way that was really exciting. So I'm excited to see what that WNBA Toronto team will do for that next generation and the effect that it'll have in, 10, 15 years down the road on all the kids playing basketball.
So Kia, Drake and Kyle Lowry were at the launch of the Toronto expansion. Are you like how excited are you to see that type of support coming from two highly sought off individuals in the Toronto area?
I mean, it's great. I mean, the demand for women's basketball in Toronto has been something that's been so exciting and something that people have really been kind of screaming from the rooftops about, especially since the first WNBA game was there in Toronto and that kind of exhibition game that took place a couple years ago. And then this year, our team, LA and versus the Storm, got to play in Edmonton, right? And so there was excitement there as well, both sold out games. And to be able to have the support of a number of, notable athletes within our country and also notable celebrities within our country, I think that's huge because it just shows that the demand is there, but it's also going to be backed. And a lot of it with women's sports is about the impact you can make, not only by just supporting it with, your words and the affirmations and putting it out there, but can you put your money where your mouth is? And I think that's what a lot of people are starting to do now, especially in Toronto and especially with this WNBA Toronto team. And that's what's really exciting about it.
So you play here in LA, but you're from Canada, and I just mentioned Drake, so I'm gonna put you in a hot seat real quick. I'm gonna tell you straight up where I'm at. I'm Kendrick Lamar from LA, so
Okay.
I'm just being honest. When you start to look at the playful beef, so to speak, in terms of the lyrics and things of that nature, you team Drake or you team Kendrick Lamar?
Listen, the problem is I'm a team podcast, so I don't even listen to half of the things that come out. Thanks to my teammates, it's been on repeat and kind of our weights and our on-court stuff. I have to go with Drake because I am Canadian and you've got to stick together with your Canadians. But if I'm being honest with you, I have no idea what's really going on in this beef. I just am there jamming to the songs and getting ready to do my practice.
No, it's good though. You stay true to home
Obviously,
like me. Yeah, I like Drake music too, but I'm from LA and I dare go against Kendrick. All right. I can't I
I feel
can't
you.
do that and drive down the street. People look at me like I'm halfway crazy.
Exactly. You got to stay with your people. It's all right. It's all right.
No.
Hold the Canadian
So
down.
you so when you was coming out of high school in Canada, you had more than, I don't know, 50 scholarship offers. You had the likes of the best programs in women's basketball, but you chose, rather than go to South Carolina or Tennessee or come out west to USC and some other programs, your choice was UConn and Maya Moore's and Coach G and all those at UConn. What made you make that choice?
Well, honestly, I was so grateful and I was surprised that UConn was calling. When you come out of Canada at the time, it was kind of popular to do it, but not as popular to get an opportunity to go to the States. And for me, it was this last tournament I played with my friends randomly. My dad called me, he's like, "Do you want to play in one more AAU tournament just for fun?" And I was like, "Sure." And I played, and all of a sudden, all these schools started calling, and UConn was one of those schools. And I remember looking at my mom, being like, "Did they call the wrong house? Are you sure they're calling for me?" And I was really grateful to have the opportunity to play at UConn. I had really, really good offers along the board, and my final three were in very different phases in their kind of development as organizations. I had one that was a bit of a rebuild, one that was consistently getting to the Sweet 16, and then you had UConn, who at the time was just winning championships left, right, and center. And so for me, a big piece of it was wanting to go to a place where I knew that they pump out pros, and the pros that they do pump out, there is a longevity to them. There's a reason why UConn players stay in the WNBA, which is one of the hardest leagues to stay in, for as long as they do. And a lot of that comes from Coach Auriemma and Coach Daly and the culture and what they've built and how they help you become a pro before you even get there. So I wanted to go there, and obviously everyone wants to win championships. So why not go win some championships? Got two down,
No,
so that was great.
no, you knocked two of them down. You're two-time NCAA champion 2016 or 2015-16. You're ACC Freshman of the Year in 2015. AAC Defensive Player of the Year. I said ACC, but it's AAC Defensive Player of the Year in 2018. You also share the records for the most three-pointers in an NCAA women's tournament. You knocked down 9 of those. You share that with Caitlin Clark along with Courtney Moses. When you look at those names up there with you sharing such accolades, are you like, what brings excitement to you?
No, and I'm grateful for my opportunity that I had at UConn in those 4 years, and I played with some really incredible players. My first 2 years, I was with that historic class and Brianna Stewart, Morgan Tuck, and Mariah Jefferson. And as we continued to go on, if I think back to my UConn days, like, there was so many exciting things that went on. Me and my teammate Gabby Williams were the only 2 in the class that played in every single game of the 111 game win streak that we had. I lost 3 games over 4 years, and had the opportunity to create all these fun memories. And I was defensive player of the year for the entire nation my final year. So, there was a lot of great things that I was able to accomplish while I was there. But I think the best part of it was just the memories that I made with my teammates. And I couldn't tell you any of the scores of the games for the 4 years I was there, but I could tell you all the funny moments that we had in practice, or, together when we were at the apartments. And that's the stuff that really matters. And being able to see all of them now in their own different respective teams when we're on the road here in the WNBA and reminiscing on those moments, it's a grateful part of my journey and being able to do that.
So, Kia, you were drafted in by the New York Liberty in 2018. It's the 10th pick of the draft. And you wind up being so close to Connecticut and so close to home in Toronto. What did you learn on and off the court during that time?
Well, when you leave the college system and you head into the WNBA, it is so fast, right? It's like a 2-week process. You go, you get drafted, then you pack up your car. From Connecticut to New York was only about a 2.5 hour drive. So packed up my entire life from Connecticut, drove it down to New York, and kind of started out that process. And the first thing that you really notice is it's amazing how much freedom you actually have when you don't have to go to school and you don't have to go and do all these early morning lifts. You have the ability to kind of figure out how you want your career to go. And one of the first things I asked was actually here in this hotel in Connecticut with my teammates. I said, "What time's pregame at?" And they were like, "Yeah, no, you have to find your own food, Kia." And I was like, "Okay, noted." So you kind of learn a lot about yourself in terms of accountability and being kind of responsible. You get an apartment on your own for the first time, and so I had the best of both worlds as a professional athlete. Coming out early was being able to be close enough to home where my parents and my friends and family could drive down and watch games, but being far enough away that I could grow up and kind of learn to take care of myself and learn what it was like to be a professional athlete and set out my systems and my routines. And I thoroughly enjoyed my time in New York. I was the only rookie on that team, so I had a ton of vets to learn from. And they were so great at just sitting down with me and teaching me all the little intricacies of the game that I could learn from them as opposed to having to go through it with experience. So I was grateful for that.
So how has the physicality though changed from when you entered into the league to where it is today as we watch the Caitlin Clark, I don't know, knock her around a little bit, welcome her to the moment of the WNBA? Because that's really, it feels like I'm talking about the Caitlin Clark stuff every single day. Not that it wasn't physical when you entered the league, but it seems like it's gotten more physical now. Is that the case?
I feel like I'm listening to it every single day too. I will say, you know what? Ultimately, it was as physical when I came into the league as it is now. I just think you didn't see it as much. There's obviously a lot more coverage and more people watching the games, more games on national television. And I don't think people saw as much physicality as they did now because they weren't watching. And so there's a level of that to it. I was one of those players who was not afraid to kind of get in there, throw my body around, dive on loose balls, be a bit of a pest at times, and people got a little annoyed with me. I had some great vets that would back me up and come to my side if I needed to. If someone was bigger than me and try and hit me. But you know what? I thought it was similar to that. I was used to kind of that physicality. Like I said, I come from a big family of athletes, but my brother and I grew up the closest in age and only being a year apart. So he's a tough hockey player, and we liked to fight a lot when we were younger. So I got used to some of that physicality too. But I think it's similar in that sense. No matter who you are in this league, the physicality and the level of setting a tone. For me, that's part of what I do here in LA. Set the physicality tone because I like to be a guard that kind of gets up into you and does a great job of doing that. And so no matter who I'm playing against any single day, if I can frustrate you in the first 5 minutes, then I probably did my job. And so that was what I learned early on. Alana Beard was one of the ones who did that to me. She was here in LA when I was playing in New York. Toughest defender that I've ever played against. Tamika Catchings was very similar in that sense. And so I appreciated the physicality of it. They taught me, and now I'm 7 years in getting to do it back. So it's fun.
Damn, Tamika Catchings was still playing when you entered the league?
I had I had Maya Moore too. I had to play against my idol and she torched me. And it was very welcome to the league as you can get.
No, but see, Maya Moore seems more recent. Maybe I
Mhm.
don't know. Maybe I'm just old. Maybe that's what it is. Did you play hockey at all growing up? Like, did you mess around on the skates?
I liked skating. I loved to go out there and skate. I didn't love when they were like, here's a stick and a puck. So I didn't stick to the ice skating, but if you called on, back in the day when we didn't have all the phones and stuff, you go walk around the neighborhood, knock on everyone's door, or come outside and play. We always lived in a court or a cul-de-sac. So we would always set up the hockey net, put me on some rollerblades, give me a stick out there. Oh, I loved me some road hockey. Some road hockey was the one.
Yeah, I couldn't tell you anything about hockey other than they go up and down and there's a hat trick. So
Yeah.
you got me on that one. So in 2019, that was your second year. You were named a starter in the WNBA All-Star game, and there's only been 3 Canadians that have been in the WNBA All-Star game. Obviously, you being one. What changed from your rookie year to your second year to allow you to be able to be a starter in the WNBA All-Star game?
I mean, a lot. For me, I went overseas in that first off season and I went to Australia and I played with the University of Canberra Capitals and we won a championship and I had a coach there named Paul Goris and he's the assistant coach in Atlanta here now. And he just had an unbelievable belief in me and what I could do. And he gave me an opportunity when I was out there to kind of really find that confidence on the offensive end. Obviously, like every other athlete, as you go through your career, you're going to play different roles in different places. The role I played in UConn was very different than the role that I had to end up playing in New York, and then the role that I would play at the UC Capitals and the role I play on the Canadian national team. So to be out there, I think he just gave me a different level of confidence. And I played well that year. We played well that year as a team. And when I came back to the WNBA, there's a level of comfort in your second year. sometimes people go through a second year slump because everybody starts to know how to guard you and scout you. But for me, I kind of came back with the confidence on the offensive end that I was belonged where I was and I knew what I could do. And so when that kind of all-star vote came out, I was surprised by it, in all honesty. I know a lot of it comes from kind of fan votes and whatever. And I think some people were like, well, she's got a whole country voting for her, so fan votes, obviously. But I was on that all-star team because of actually the player votes. I was pretty high ranking in player votes. And for me, that was something that was more, meaningful, was that my peers saw what I was able to do out there and they respected what I was doing for that season. And so that's what really excited me about being able to be out there, and just incredible and grateful to have that opportunity.
So you've been in the league 7 years now. You're the veteran player. You've played on multiple teams, the Liberty we talked about. You were in Phoenix, Seattle, and now you're at the LA Sparks. So you're the old head, like you got the Grays going. They got a diet sometimes, I'm sure. What's it like being the veteran out on the court with a bunch of young horses that you have with the Sparks?
Yeah, I diet a little bit of caramel now, so you got a little
Me too.
blonde.
I do. That's why I bring.
Yeah.
That's why I mentioned it. I got to get mine dyed up. Shoot, I'm getting it
The
dyed
the
later
little
today.
the little young players are giving me so much stress, they're going great. No, kidding. In all honesty, I am grateful to be in the opportunity in this place where I am now and be a vet. And a lot of my leadership, and I understand that leadership style is very different for each player. Mine comes from a lot of, typically, kind of showing you what I do. And a lot of that wasn't very vocal. I tend to speak when I need to speak, not just to speak. And so I do what I can in terms of leadership, in terms of finding different ways to connect with one another. I'm an old head. I'm 28. I'm an old head, but I'm still young at heart. So I can still connect with them on, the younger players on a lot of things other than TikTok, because I don't do TikTok, but I can connect with them on kind of being in the spotlight at a young age, and, what that feels like, some of the things that kind of come along with that, and how you can kind of keep yourself together both on and off the court, and that transition that you come into of like, okay, everything's on me now. If I want to get extra 20 minutes of shooting on, I got to text the coach. I got to call somebody to come in and help me. No one's giving me a pregame meal. Where do I go eat? All that kind of stuff. I try to help them out with as much as possible. And for us, we've got two incredible rookies here with the LA Sparks, and Cameron Brink and Rickea Jackson. And they want to learn. They're willing to learn. They're willing to ask questions, but they're also uber talented. So a lot of times they can just rely on their talent out there because they're smart. They know where to be at the right times. They know how to get themselves in positions where they can be successful, whether that's scoring or Cam getting a massive block for us at a big time. And so when I'm out there with them, they give me a lot of joy and a lot of happiness. A lot of times it's just helping them with the nerves and smiling at them, letting them know it's okay. They're doing the right things out there. Because everyone else on the outside will probably tell you what you're doing wrong. My job is to make sure they know what they're doing right.
So now, Kia, down to the juicy stuff. The reason that I brought you in is to talk about the controversy, so to speak, that's going on around the WNBA right now, and in the way that the media has portrayed the WNBA about essentially one person, right? And Caitlin Clark. It's like everything is zoomed in, geared toward Caitlin Clark. Do you think that the media is missing things about the history of the WNBA and how long it's been around, how successful it's been thus far?
Yeah, I do think think about it this way. We've got new fans to the league. Obviously, we've got new players in a new rookie class. And along with that comes new media, right? There's people that this is what we've always kind of hoped for, is that you follow your favorite players from the NCAA into their women's professional career. And at times it's been really difficult to do that. Think about a player that comes from Connecticut. You could use a Brianna Stewart, for example, comes from Connecticut, has an illustrious college career, 4 national championships, pretty much not pretty much, every single award you possibly could have won, she won it. But then she went to a team in Seattle. And at the time, Seattle's games were on all of the networks in Seattle. So all the Connecticut fans almost couldn't find that network to watch her, to follow her career as it was going on. And now it's in a different place, right? We're able to actually watch our favorite players in the NCAA as fans and then follow them into the WNBA, because now you're starting to see games on television. Now you can get it on League Pass. Now there's, Prime, all these different things that you can watch the games on. And that's exciting for us, but it also brings in new media. And sometimes the media doesn't, like you said, know the history of the game, know kind of the people that came before us as players. We understand it because this league wouldn't exist if the players before me didn't come and the players before them didn't come. And now I have the opportunity to reap the benefits of what the WNBA is today. It'll be the same thing for those next generations. And so there are a lot of narratives. There's a lot of talk around the WNBA. It's great that people are talking about it. I think the big thing is to talk about the WNBA. It's okay to be new. It's okay to say that you're new and that you might not understand everything. Ask us. Like, we're here. There's 144 of us, not just one of us. We're here. We're willing to share our stories. We're willing to tell you kind of how it was when we came in. I'm a 7-year vet. You can get someone like DT who's been in here for like since I was born, 20 years. Like, I played with DT. I got all those stories from her too, from the beginnings of her years here. So, understanding our league is about understanding the players that are within it. It's the hardest league in the world to make. It's the hardest league in the world to stay in. And so the stories that are there for the people who have been able to stay in it and make this league are incredible stories. It's worth asking them for their first viewpoint of it in order for you to get an understanding of it.
Growing up in Los Angeles, so I had the opportunity as a kid to watch Cheryl Swoops
Mhm.
and Cynthia Cooper play. And I'm really good friends with Cynthia, but my best friend is one of my best friends is Tina Thompson. I went to school with, obviously, high school and in college. I used to fly in during their times in Houston to watch them play. But I saw Tina play, obviously, with the Sparks because of LA. So I take myself away from those that don't understand the history of the game, and don't really Teresa Witherspoon was
Yeah.
one of my road dogs in New York when I played for the Jets. I was just a young kid and she was playing in the WNBA back then. So I kind of got a little bit of an understanding about, what's going on in the WNBA. So I take myself away from the traditional media gossipers for sure.
I
You
appreciate you.
know,
Teaspoon's one of my favorites. She was one of the coaches I had coming into New York, and to this day, like, one of the best people that I've ever met in the WNBA, Teaspoon, for sure.
what advice, Kia, would you give Caitlin Clark? Not only does she have to deal with playing basketball on the court, but this all of a sudden burden that she's been assigned with to, I don't know, carry, let's say, the WNBA, but also try to, I don't know, appeal to a certain fan base within Indiana or Iowa or WNBA across the board, and then factor into the race component because you got a white girl from the Midwest from Iowa coming into a league that's already kind of been established, shoehorned into the league, and they anointed her as the one. But what advice would you give her to kind of be able to handle it? Because you've been there before as a star coming out of UConn.
Yeah, honestly, it's about the people that are around you, and a lot of it is noise, and unfortunately, because we have cell phones now and everything is so easily accessible and information is so easily accessible to all of us, it's easy to get lost in what everybody else is saying and what the noise around you is. And for me, what I've found most helpful is to be able to create a close circle around me, knowing the people that whose opinions matter to me and whether those opinions are good or bad. I need people in there that are going to tell me good things. I need people in there that are going to keep it real with me and make sure that I hear the hard truths as well. But protecting your space is huge. And especially because there is so much kind of on her shoulders. And I think, she has to handle it in a quick span of time too. You don't even really get a lot of time to digest that your college career is done, because then you get drafted, then you get thrown in the WNBA. It's all these new narratives that are showing up. And so, protect your peace, protect your space, and have the people around you that are going to be there to hold on to you and help you in those moments that are more difficult, but also to celebrate you in those moments that are great. Because there'll be a lot of highs and lows, and the lows feel long, the highs feel short, but the highs are worth it in this league. To be able to do this, I tell people all the time, I run up and down a court for a living. Like, who gets to do that? As much as I don't want to run all the time, I love it. It's
Yeah.
the best job in the entire world.
No, yeah, I always used to tell people, even in sports or what I do now, I'm like, man, you have no idea. It's a certain preparation, but the fun is when I get to interview people like yourself, or the fun was when I got to play on Sundays. It wasn't necessarily practice. It was fun, and I got paid to do it. So now that your season is getting ready to get a little bit of a break, so to speak, because the Olympics are coming up and the Canadian national team are making its fourth straight appearance. This will be your third Olympics. So if it's your third, then that means you went as like a 15-year-old, a 16-year-old, or something like that, right?
I was a baby when I first started with the team. I started with the team just after their appearance in London in 2012, so 2013. I was 16 at the time, and I believe we went to our first Olympics 4 years after that. So I was 20 in the first one, and I've been moving through it ever since. But grateful for that opportunity. I went to that first camp as a welcome to the Olympic team. And we want you to see how it works so that when you do get here at some point, you have an understanding of how it goes, and these are the best, players that we have in our country at the time. And I guess I played really well in that camp because they were like, so do you want to come to China with us? So I went with them to China for a 2-week trip, and it's been history ever since. Like, I've been on that Olympic team. I haven't played two with my actual age group. I played 2 years, and then now I've moved up there and I've been there for almost 10 years. So it's pretty wild. We talk about being an old head there. When we do half court shots and we do it by age, I'm still in the middle, but I'm an old head because I've been there forever. So it's fun.
So you need to, you're going. So these games are in Paris. So I'm assuming you got to brush up on a little bit of that French, because you got to brush up on it, get it nice and tight. So when you go over there this summer, everything will be the way that it's supposed to be. From a mindset standpoint, though, on the court, how do you approach it versus your last appearance and also coming out of the WNBA?
Yeah, so it's a really interesting thing when you go into the WNBA season and it's an Olympic year, and you know that at some point everything's going to stop for a month and you're going to head over to your next team. Like I mentioned before, I play a very different role on my Canadian national team than I play pretty much anywhere else. And so for me, when I'm there, a lot of it is kind of being ready to go. And I know that there's a pressure on me every time that I go out and play with the national team. I've been grateful because I started at a young age and found success with that team at a young age, that I've been a role model for a lot of young people in our country. And when you talk about the Canadian women's national team, a lot of times I do a lot of the media for them. You'll see my face around a lot of the stuff in the country. And so I know there's a pressure on that as well. And for this national team, we have for the last 4 years been really consistent in getting to the Olympics and had quite a bit of success. We were a 4th place finish in the World Championship in our last 2 years. And so for us, we've always had kind of that desire and also that goal to get on the podium. And our goal was to get on the podium in the last Olympics. We fell short of it by quite a bit. And now going into this Olympics, it's the same thing. Like, we still want to get onto that podium. We've got a ton of talent on our team. And so making the adjustment of I'm here when I need to be here in terms of like the LA Sparks game plans, figuring out what we need to do. After that last game before the break, I believe it's a 12:30 game. I will get on a flight about 8 o'clock that night and I will fly to Spain and I will meet up with my national team and we'll get going there, do our exhibition games and head to Paris for the Olympics. So, it's a big kind of swing there, but I'm grateful for the opportunity to represent my country anytime I get the chance to put on Canada. And on the Olympic stage, it's the biggest, most pressure-filled stage that you can get onto. But it's also one of the most rewarding, and it's 4 years. The problem is if you don't do well, we didn't do as well we wanted to in that last Olympic Games, you got to wait 4 years to get another shot at it, right? And you don't want to waste that 4-year shot. So I'm looking forward to going back there and hoping to get on that podium.
Kia, I'm not as smart as I might look. And I was sitting here. Why do they call it the Canadian national team? Because I don't think we call it the USA national team. I don't know. I'm being serious.
That's how we would, the US Olympic team is typically what
Yeah.
people say here. We go
Okay.
Canadian national team, we're going to play against the Australian national team. We're going to play against the French national team. So for some reason, that's how we go about it. But we don't have a nickname or anything. We've been trying to work on it, but Canadian national team is the best way to put it.
Oh yeah. I actually is crazy. I'm actually going to dial in, and I've watched WNBA for years or whatever the case is. But I guess I don't know. I assumed for the most part that the Olympics, USA got this, don't worry about nothing. But I'm more entrenched in the WNBA now than I've ever been. And so now many of the girls are going to play for their countries and whatnot. Like, I'm going to be really dialed in to watch. I'm like, I was up on Father's Day at 9 o'clock in the morning, West Coast time, watching Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark play. I don't know when the last time I don't think I've ever done that before. I've gone to games, but I haven't made an appointment watching. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm just not one to just say, oh God, the U.S. gonna win. I don't know. Who knows?
International basketball, I mean, the men's side has shown you some stuff in the last couple of years too, but international basketball is like extremely exciting. And I know a lot of people are like, well, the game isn't really global. I'm like, no, like there's a reason why WNBA players go and play overseas because they have more money to pay you. Why do they have more money to pay you? Because it's popular. People want to watch it. They've got fans, they've got ownership that their organizations make money. And so it's an exciting game. And to have people, I know the WNBA, obviously the Team USA is built up of the top 12 WNBA players in the league, which is incredible when you think about putting all of them on one team, which is why they're very difficult to beat. But you look around the countries and you look at China's been on a surge for the women's basketball. They've been on the surge and they're fantastic. We've got a player on our team here in Li Ru who's fantastic for the Chinese national team. France has some really incredible players who have played in the WNBA as well. Spain's a tough one to beat. Australia is a really tough team to beat. So, I'm really excited because there's so much talent in the WNBA, and a lot of us are kind of dispersed as well. But there's also international talent in there, and USA is a tough team to beat. I will give you that. But at any given day in the Olympics, all you have to do is play your best basketball for 2 weeks. And if you can get out of that, get into that pool, and get onto that podium, I mean, the national pride that comes along with it is so exciting. So you should tune in. It might be early
No,
mornings, but you
I
should.
am. No, I will. No, I will. The rules are slightly different though than the WNBA, right? You got to get adjusted to that international rules versus the WNBA.
Oh yeah, it's the ball, honestly. The molten ball is completely different. And it's like lighter and it has no grip. So like when you get there, it's like you want to dribble the ball for 24 hours straight just so that you can feel a little better with it.
So let's talk a little. Let's have a little bit of fun here. So I'm not. I'm a Jordan guy, so to speak. I grew up with Jordan. I know Michael, the whole deal, friends and not. But I'm in a three-stripe family, right? I'm an Adidas. When I came into the league, I was an Adidas guy, and I'm still an Adidas guy. But you are with the Jumpman. What's it like to be in that exclusive family of Brand Jordan and just rocking? I don't know, rocking whichever way it is, every time, everywhere you go.
It's insane, in all honesty. I started out in the Nike family, and then when the opportunity came to get to Jumpman, it was really early. It was kind of when Maya Moore had just finished her WNBA career, and there wasn't really many women on the roster at the time. And so myself and AD Durr were the two that signed, and we were like the second and third to sign on the women's side. And so it was really exciting to be a part of that and to see where Jordan Brand has gone from. I'm an OG there too. I feel like I'm an OG everywhere nowadays. To see where they've gone since I've signed with the brand and have the opportunity, it's been amazing. And for us, one of the coolest things that Jordan Brand does is they let us tell our stories on our shoe. And so every year we kind of give them a story about something and they turn that into a PE. And for me, it's been this year's my Auntie Kiki's. So it represents my nephews. I've had some for Pan Am Games, for Hamilton for where I'm from. I've had all these different PEs across the years. And this year, even, I had a Toronto Raptors PE, which was to pay homage to Vince Carter and what he's done for our generation. And Jason Tatum came in to play the Toronto Raptors and he wore the PE. So to be able to kind of have that, collaboration between the men's and women's side with Jordan basketball is something that's really special. And it's special to be a part of a team that is so driven by excellence and, having great athletes on their roster. And I'm grateful to be one of those athletes.
Damn, I just realized this. Your brother's in the Stanley Cup final?
He
No,
is.
I just realized that.
He is.
Y'all got a crazy ass athletic family.
We
Like for
do.
him to think about it, for him to be in the man, that's crazy though. For him to be in the Stanley Cup final and he scored a goal last time out. I
He
mean,
did.
like, that's pretty that's wild. Now that's no, I got family, my family, we played professional sports and the whole deal and whatnot, but it's just my brother didn't play. My nephew, his son, played professional football, plays professional football, so to speak. But to be able to have you, your brother, your dad, it's like, damn, what's up in Canada? What y'all drinking?
I don't well, my parents did a good job apparently. So I don't know what is going on there, but I am so unbelievably proud of my brother right now and what they've been able to do, him and his team. I know there's been you talk about narratives, there's been a lot of narratives around my brother this year and some unnecessary narratives, if I do say so myself, that's probably one of the coolest things about being in a family that has professional athletes. I've never met people that are more resilient. I've never met a person more resilient than my brother. And he is a massive inspiration for me to be able to get to the top level and be able to play for championships. And so I'm proud of him. I literally think I woke up my entire hotel floor the other day when he did score. It was late at night when I was watching, and I just started screaming because I was like, look at him go. And there's a lot of people out there that have a lot of opinions, and I will wait until later to assess some of those opinions.
Yeah, now you telling me this. I gotta go find out what they saying. I'm not a social media guy, so I don't pay attention to all the little bullshit that come on social media because I know how people are. They just be talking and don't even know what they talking about half the time. How did he wind up in Edmonton though, being from Canada? Like he's not with the Kings or the New York teams or anything, but he's actually in his native country playing hockey as a professional. How did that happen?
Yeah, he actually took a different route. So when you're young as a Canadian hockey player or hockey player in general, you can kind of go to these little leagues off to the side. So he went to the OHL instead of going the college route. When you do go to these leagues, you end up losing your college eligibility because you become a paid athlete, but they don't really pay them. So he took that route. He was drafted 3rd overall into that league, and he left home at like 15 or 16 to go and play in the OHL at Sault Ste. Marie Greyhounds. And then a couple years later, he was drafted into the NHL. And it's funny because he was drafted 7th overall. So when he came to my draft, it's like a one-up thing with the two of us all the time. He came to my draft and he wasn't at my table because couldn't pick between one of my siblings, which one could sit there. So he's in the back, and I can see as 7 went by and I didn't get picked, he was like, and I'm like, okay, I get it. Like, you went higher than me. Thank you. And 10 came, and obviously he was very proud of me, but it's like a fun thing. And I'm always like, well, Uncle Don went above you. So technically we're all below him. So it's kind of entertaining, like how we go back and forth with it. But he got drafted to Edmonton, and now I think it's almost like he signed a 9-year contract, so he'll be there forever. But it's really cool to kind of see how he's been able to stay, and obviously stay in a Canadian franchise, and a very historied Canadian franchise at that. Very, very fun to see that. They're very interesting. They've got a lot of good young talent on that team.
What do you know by any chance what years your dad played
My
football?
dad played in the CFL. He
Okay.
retired the year I was born. I think
Okay.
I overdid it with the 3rd kid. They were like, it might be time. I believe he was 6 years before that. So it's would have been 90 to 96-ish with the Hamilton Tiger Cats. So
Okay.
that's how we kind of ended up in Hamilton, even though he was from Hamilton. And still to this day, he's another one who tries to one up everybody, still living in his glory days sometimes.
So he's originally Canadian, so that's how you guys. But he went to
He was born
Syracuse
in
because it's so
Trinidad.
close. Oh,
Yeah,
born in
so he was
Trinidad.
born in
Okay.
Trinidad, and his family immigrated over to Canada when he was really young. And then my mom was also born in Canada. So when they met, they kind of ended up in Hamilton. So it's where we've been ever since.
Yeah, I've only parts of Canada I've been to is Vancouver
Yeah.
and Toronto.
So we're
Nowhere
about
else.
35, 40 minutes
Oh,
outside
I've
of
been to
Toronto.
Montreal. My bad. I've been to
Yeah.
Montreal too. Oh,
Nice.
okay.
Yeah.
It's good. It was cold. Two of the times that it was
Did you
freezing.
come in the
And
winter? It's cold in the
yeah,
winter.
I was playing against. One time I was visiting Mount Tremblant up in Montreal.
Yeah.
And another time we drove from Buffalo. We were playing the Bills. We drove from Buffalo. We had off time. We drove from Buffalo over to Toronto. And I've gone to Toronto when they had the festival there, doing,
If you drove from Buffalo, you probably drove right through Hamilton.
Oh, did I? I don't know. I just remember like Fort Erie, Buffalo. I just
Yeah,
kind
you
of
would have
remember that
passed right
whole.
by us.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what's up. Well, thank you, Kia, for joining the show. I really appreciate it because I know you got bigger and better things to attend to than messing around with me for a little bit, but I do appreciate it.
Thank you. No, it was an honor. Thank you. I appreciate it.
That's a wrap for today's show. Thank you to Kia Nurse for joining the show. And don't forget to subscribe to All Facts Pod on wherever you get your pods on social media as well as YouTube. Deuces.